Hello, and welcome to the Continuity Report, powered by ohmtown.com. Today is April 28th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 17. I am Mayor Watt, and all of this above me and down there and everywhere around me is the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, hometown citizens.
Awesome. And today we're going to be talking about how the Delorean time traveled. We need more lower decks. The biggest fantasy TV year. I'm losing my voice at the beginning of the show. The Orville gets companion. Science facts that ruin TV. Apocalyptic movies. Who is this Emma Stone you're speaking of? John Wick's replacement. Fallout Season 2 and more. And rooting for the baddies. Again, this is the Continuity Report, but everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Yeah, I'm coughing. I cannot believe this. Right at the beginning of the show. Anyway, we've got all 10 of these articles all set up. I'm losing my earpieces too. Jeepers creepers.
No editing.
No editing. This is how the sausage is made, folks. You come here for the comedy and the camaraderie. Right? Anyway. So let's get into today's shows. We actually have a lot of articles that are aggregated from Screen Rant today. I guess they've been kind of hitting it out of the park this week in terms of what we talk about here in the Continuity Report. But we don't read all of the article verbatim. We present you with some of the little highlights and our particular perspective of that information. We encourage you to go over kind of like a news aggregator elsewhere, except that the only noise you ever get is from Mayor Watt and the sentient AI. And mostly from Mayor Watt. The sentient AI is much more practical.
You're definitely the noisier of the two.
Thanks. You didn't have to dive onto that one so quick, but, you know, I appreciate your commentary all the same. Yeah. Sometimes as mayor, I feel ugly. Well, it's because you are. Wait, no, wait. I'm right here. I'm in the room, for crying out loud. So, how the DeLorean time traveled without going 88 miles per hour and Back to the Future 2. I thought that was kind of interesting too. I basically thought, well, it defied physics because relativistic speed. It actually created the speed without actually going anywhere, kind of like folding space. Back to the Future Part 2 seemed to break its own rule, allowing the DeLorean to time travel without reaching 88 miles per hour. Because what happens when you hit 88 miles per hour?
Well, in the movie, you time travel.
Yeah, but you're going to see some serious shit. Anyway, but it turns out that this isn't a pothole. A pothole? Is that intentional, do you think?
It could be.
Do you think pothole versus plot hole?
Driving and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was so obvious that I had to go, could it be a typo and they didn't catch it? Because pothole and plot hole is just a letter away. Anyway. Naturally, the beloved science fiction franchise is full of such questions and mysteries, and it often takes a bend of the imagination to make everything make sense whenever time travel gets involved. We have a whole show of it. It's called Temporology. It's right there. It's science and science fiction of time and time travel. It's not ready for prime.
So it's a channel, but we don't have a show.
Yeah, I mean, it's a channel, and we aggregate news into it, but we don't have a show yet. Whenever time travel gets involved, there are sure to be some paradoxes, or what's the plural of paradox? Paradoxi?
Clearly, yes.
If it's in space, it's paradoxe. Right?
If it's a plant, it's paradoxe.
Oh, right. That's genus?
The Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, in the case of the Doc's jump to 1885 at the end of Back to the Future Part 2, there is a perfectly reasonable explanation according to this article. It's over at screenrant.com. Angel Shaw is the author of this. The deck statement says Doc Brown's DeLorean had to reach 88 miles per hour to travel through time, but at the end of Back to the Future 2, it looked as if the rules were changed. What do you think? Do you think they actually changed the rules, or?
I mean, maybe it was an issue in filming. Maybe it wasn't intentional.
So yeah, they reiterate kind of that little snippet in larger form, and then at the end of the paragraph, they say the time machine car, the DeLorean, was struck by lightning and sent to 1885. The problem is the DeLorean wasn't traveling at the requisite 88 miles per hour. So the DeLorean reached 88 miles per hour thanks to being struck by lightning in Back to the Future 2. The DeLorean traveled at 88 miles per hour in a rapid loop-de-loop. Apparently. So I had to use a steam engine to get it up to speed at the end of Back to the Future Part 3. In Part 2, it was lightning. Right? The problem regarding the stationary DeLorean being sent back in time was spotted relatively quickly after Back to the Future Part 2 was released in 1989, and it has plagued many ever since. It was clear that the time machine still needed to get to 88 miles per hour since Marty and Doc had to use a steam engine to get it up to speed in Part 3. So the change didn't come down to upgrades made to the DeLorean in 2015, which eliminated the need for plutonium. That's where he had the Mr. Fusion part. So according to Back to Future creator Bob Gale, the DeLorean did hit 88 miles per hour. In fact, it likely traveled much faster than that. When the car was struck by lightning while flying in the air, the vehicle was sent spinning on its axis. It looped around so quickly that the required speed was achieved, and between this and the power of the bolt of lightning, or perhaps Mr. Fusion, the DeLorean's time-traveling capabilities were activated. So, see?
But I wonder why they didn't make it as visible to the viewers, because at least when the original was released, I think they did some things to make it more accessible to people that perhaps weren't as accustomed to time travel movies as they are today.
Yeah, I suppose so. See, it says Gale's answer about how the DeLorean got up to 88 miles per hour makes perfect sense when remembering the mysterious backwards 99 that appeared in the sky in Back to the Future Part 2. This number became the inspiration for a wide variety of fan theories. Some believe the number referred to different points where Doc and Marty had already traveled in time. The number 9 was visible on street signs in both 1955 and 2015, and the backwards 99 might have referred to Doc going backward in time. However, the truth is much simpler. Just the visible path the car had taken to get up to speed. It basically looped around in the air, and off it went. Interesting. I mean, if you're gonna sit there and try and invoke physics into a time travel movie, can you hit? See, now there's some mathematical problems here. Something spinning 88 miles per hour. Is it actually moving at 88 miles an hour, or is it just spinning at 88 miles per hour? And 88 miles per hour in nothing but centrifugal force is not actually forward momentum.
I guess it's just something associated with it at that, or then it couldn't have traveled, right?
So why make a DeLorean?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, particularly if in the third one they made it very clear that they needed 88 miles per hour. It just seems kind of odd. I wonder if there was a different director or something for number 2.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. The director was Robert Zemeckis for number 2.
Okay.
Was it Zemeckis for all of them? So the thing about it is that I'm sitting there looking at this 99. If this is the track that the vehicle made, but it was pivoting on its axis, then it didn't have forward momentum 88 miles per hour. So theoretically, you could make a time machine that is like one of those tilt-a-whirls in like a circus or amusement park, where you're pinned against the wall and it just spins. And if you hit 88 miles per hour, you wouldn't have to move anywhere. You would just blip back in time or forward in time, you'd be stuck wherever
So
it
it
is.
is the same director for all three.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be not founded in even the movie's physics, because it had to be a train that hit 88 miles per hour when it went forward in time. The initial in Back to the Future Part 1, it went forward in time. I'm sorry. It went into the past, and then it had to hit 88 miles per hour forward to go back to the future. And then in part 2, it did the same thing, except that at the end, it did this little pivot. And then in part 3, it needed a train hitting forward momentum, 88 miles per hour. And then when it returned, it was a seemingly magical train that just sprouted on the tracks, and it too launched into the air and hit 88 miles per hour. The only one that's oddball is this. So
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't fit. I can't quite figure out why they went in this direction, but
yeah. So this defies the physics still. So let's do this. We'll have to put a pin in this, and we'll have to revisit it, maybe in the Temporology show. We'll see. Let's go on to the next article. It's over in the Continuity Report. Star Trek Strange New World Season 4 needs another Lower Decks crossover. I agree. In fact, it sucks Lower Decks isn't going to continue, right? So
I agree. So this might be a difficult time to do one, but I thought it was much better than expected.
Yeah, I really liked Lower Decks, and I loved the crossover. So I hope that it's just not possible. I suppose they're just not going to keep on making it. Star Trek Strange New World Season 4 needs another crossover episode with Star Trek Lower Decks. Strange New World Season 2, Episode 7, Those Old Scientists, saw Lower Decks Ensign Beckett Mariner and Ensign Brad Boimler time travel to encounter Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, and the USS Enterprise crew in the 23rd century. The exciting and emotionally resonant Star Trek crossover was lauded by fans of both shows and provided important character and narrative development. I agree. So why is it? Does anybody know why Lower Decks is being canceled? Are these two going on to other things and they're just not available anymore?
I don't think any reason has been provided.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's been 5 years and a pandemic, and maybe they've been, developing their skills to the point where they're going to be moving on to something else, and the show just can't afford them, or they want to expand their, repertoire. There's
an after 5th season bump, apparently.
Oh, really? So this article is over at Screen Rant. Emma Biddulph is the author. And again, the deck statement says Star Trek Strange New World Season 4 is confirmed, and the best chance to see Star Trek Lower Decks when the animated show ends with Season 5. So there's supposed to be a bump?
Yeah, contract extension bump. If that's true, then that's just speculation as to why it is. It's not something definitive.
Yeah, so maybe, just maybe, they're going to extend it. We'll see. Or that's why there will be a crossover.
That's why they're ending it now. Or at the end of Season 5, so they don't have to do that.
You mean bump as in pay?
Yeah.
Or just extend it?
I lost the link.
Yeah, it's okay.
Pay bump.
Oh, wow. Well, that kind of sucks. I mean,
that's like you get retirement at whatever, 30 years or something after you work for somebody, and then they fire you at you're 29, or that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't as lucrative.
That's somebody speculating.
Oh, okay. So the renewal of Star Trek Strange New Worlds for Season 4, alongside the news that Star Trek Lower Decks will not be renewed after Season 5, is a bittersweet reality check for fans, but may also present an opportunity to capitalize on the success of the first crossover between the two shows with another one In Strange New World Season 4, the growing prominence and influence of Tawny Newsome over Star Trek modern shows and Strange New World's showrunners' interest in further collaboration suggests that another crossover may be a possibility. But how about this? Wouldn't it be cool if the crossover leads to those two being pulled into Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, that would be neat.
That would be awesome, I think. Because I love these two characters. I think that they were, in fact, I actually love all of the characters. Um, but I guess you can't. I don't know. I would love to have actually had this Lower Decks not be animated. I mean, I know that it would be
Well,
much
that's
more
true.
special effects ridden, if it goes live action and not animated. You can get away with a hell of a lot more in animated than live action, but the charisma that the people have in voice alone is just spectacular. Their delivery of lines is awesome. And it obvious that they can command the stage because how well they did in the crossover into the real world. I thought that it was spectacular. So I would love to see them actually doing more a real live action Lower Decks. I mean, we know what we know what the captain and the superior officers are doing, but we don't know what the everyday lower decks or lower deckers are doing. So why
That's
not?
true. It's like the sci-fi version of like Downton Abbey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's actually
I know those
correct.
are totally different genres, but
That's interesting though that you would pull it that direction. Yeah, yeah. If you've never watched Downton Abbey or Daunton Abbey, go and watch it. It's actually quite a compelling story, showing the evolution of, I guess, the aristocracy of um, Britain.
yeah, and very good acting.
Oh, just spectacular. Yeah. Although there were a couple of times where I was like, oh, God, these people. Anyway, there is more over at this article that talks about season 5 and season 4 of the two shows. But it's basically hammering home the idea that we need to see more lower decks. But hopefully, I don't know, maybe they'll change their tune.
Well, maybe if the fans speak up enough, maybe it'll extend. I mean, that has happened before.
It didn't say Firefly. Okay, let's keep going.
No, it didn't.
The next article, what's going to take its place, though? This is what really sucks about this. So, the next article is over in the continuity report. It's a channel over at ohmtown.com, but it's also the name of this show. We talk about all of that stuff from primarily that source right there. That's where it all gets
Well, you teed up
aggregated.
this article well based on that question.
So, wow, 2026 may be the biggest and best year for fantasy TV we've ever seen, but it's 2026. It
I
hurts.
know that's a long gap to get to that time.
Yeah. Fantasy is beginning to make its mark in the world of television, with 2026 promising to be the biggest year for the genre yet. Although, to me, I think television is dying and it's all going on to streaming, and people are going, I cut the cord, only to have to pay multiples times
More.
what they did on cable. And it's all balkanized, and it's friction bound, and ugh. Anyway, in decades past, major fantasy properties were contained predominantly to film. And prior to this, it was literature that was known for containing stories about wizards, magic, which is wizards, and dragons. However, as the genre has become more popular, more fantasy TV shows have emerged, allowing these stories to stretch far beyond the limits of a movie. Now, several properties have TV shows in development, and by 2026, their stories will be ruling the airwaves. That was a lot of a snippet.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It's over at Screen Rant as well. Angel Shaw is the author. The deck statement says we have a tentative lineup for some of the fantasy TV shows that'll be airing in 2026, and it looks like the biggest year the genre has ever seen. Gone are MCU superhero kind of things and Here Comes Fantasy TV, which I love all of that. Not just fantasy TV, but all of it. So I'm going to jump on down because there is stuff that you can read here, but it says a new Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings could all release in 2026. More Harry Potter? The Three Horsemen
Yeah,
of
that's
Fantasy.
interesting.
So I can't believe Game of Thrones anything because there hasn't been anything. It's got to be some. It's like the lower decks of Game of Thrones. Can't get any lower than some of
No,
the
that's true.
shenanigans they did. Harry Potter. I didn't think that they were developing any more Harry Potter properties. And Lord of the Rings. Again, it's one of those things where it's been played and played and played. But let's see what they actually say. Oh yeah, spin-off House of the Dragon. Franchise continued with the prequel spin-off House of the Dragon, which released its first season in 2022. That same year, another prequel spin-off. This time is based on Lord of the Rings, came to television, Prime Video's The Rings of Power, releasing its first season. I never watched it. I don't know. The second season of both these fantasy franchises will be released in 2024, which means that House of the Dragon and Rings of Power Season 3 can be expected in 2026. That is an expectation that may not actually prevail. They're going to remake Harry Potter book, right? HBO has made a 2026 target for the first season of its TV remake of the Harry Potter book and movie series.
Okay.
Interesting. So
Obviously, it's going to have, or I assume it's going to have a new cast.
oh yeah, I mean, who are they going
I
to
mean,
actually?
because of the age of the actors, and well, actually, they've lost some of the actors, not
Yeah,
the main kids, of course, but
yeah, and who is HBO going to get that? What's her name is J.K. Rowling is actually going to agree with because they
right.
were
Well, that was
extremely
going to
adamant.
be the question. Like, is it in collaboration with her or not?
I can imagine. I liken her to be like Zuckerberg in like I am going to have absolute like death grip on my property because the moment that she got you know like a real traction like because she was supposedly on the outs quite a bit, her financial outs, and then she got discovered essentially for Harry Potter, and then it just went gangbusters, and like in all cases that I've witnessed, slowly leads towards sociopathy and but their hardcore focus was everything had to have been born within the UK, which I found really interesting, like
Oh,
adamant.
that's right. They didn't like the possibility because they could have done so much more with that
Yeah, yeah,
series.
just tremendous amount. Yeah. Um, but I don't think they go beyond this. This is it. This is the article is basically hyping these three, which isn't new so much as it's just riffing off of the old. But they're not actually saying anything about it being new. A new take on Harry Potter would be interesting, but it's not going to
Right.
be.
But it doesn't have to be new to be a good year for fantasy TV. I
Yeah.
mean, and the point, I guess, of all three of these is like they already have a following.
Yeah. But not, to me, the IP properties, if you're going to say new, then how about more Game of Thrones, more Harry Potter, more Lord of
Right,
the
right.
Rings? None of this is new. Um, yeah, I think we all know how Lord of the Rings ends, unless you take it the lower decks way. What other tangential stuff happened in Lord of the Rings? I mean, that's what
Right. You
role
could
playing games.
feature somebody else as the protagonist. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do with
Yeah,
it, I suppose.
yeah. Find some compelling story or something. Yeah. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in the continuity report as well. The Orville gets perfect companion guide fans have been waiting for. Apparently, this is an exclusive over at Screen Rant. Fans of the hit sci-fi show The Orville are about to discover more than they ever thought possible thanks to a new guidebook. While the future of the show hangs in the air and has been perpetually, a new release from Dark Horse Books has or will take readers back and answer any question about the Orville's world. Dark Horse is pretty well known. Justin Epps over at Screen Rant put the article together. The deck statement says Screen Rant has a first look at the Guide to the Orville, a new companion book chock full of information for or to answer fans' burning questions. So this is an actual real world book, I suppose. Oh my gosh. Physical media is dead though, so I don't quite understand this. It's like Waterworld and me holding a piece of paper. I don't know what this is, but okay, I'll assume that you got it from somewhere. In Waterworld, the guy has gills, dives down to the ocean floor and grabs
Oh,
sand
okay.
and actually plants something and it survives. So, anyway, yeah, technology has taken over. So Screen Rant has an exclusive first look at the Guide to the Orville, an illustrated guide to the sci-fi universe. Written by Andre Bormanis, the guide contains everything a crew member of the USS Orville could use, from the history of the Union to the tech that makes every one of the Orville's journeys possible. Dun dun dun. That's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
like
that's neat.
the Orville is like this subordinate ship that somebody just gets thrown into, from my understanding. Captain Ed Mercer and his shipmates that detail the Orville will also provide commentary for their many adventures. It's a deluxe edition that features a slipcase, a poster, and 4 planetary union patches. Look at that.
Okay, that's kind of neat.
It's pretty sexy there. Although I would hate it if that is folded up. I would go
Right.
nuts. That had better be in a cylinder, in a tube, and protected. If I was really into the Orville, which I was, and then it went sideways, and now it's on some other. Isn't it on Hulu or something? I guess.
Hulu. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, look. Yeah, we can watch it. Whatever season it's in now. So there's more over at this article. We've kind of gotten right down to brass tacks about this thing. I don't know when it's releasing. Does it actually say?
The book?
Yeah.
I
When
don't
is
think
this?
so.
Anyway, yeah, you're gonna have to
It
follow.
looks like it's already
Is it already out?
available. Hmm.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, go look. The title
Oh,
of
I'm
the.
sorry. It's available for pre-order. It releases
Oh,
in September.
I was gonna say September for whatever reason. It always seems like in September is when books get published, because I think it's like the rotation academic year where they produce all of the books and the new fiscal year and all of that kind of stuff kicks off. I don't know. Anyway, The Guide to the Orville is the book. Go look it up. It's by Dark Horse Books. Let's go. Let's go. We have so many articles to still talk about. This next article is in the continuity report, 10 science facts that completely ruin great TV shows. Let's
Okay, we
see.
know what has to be on here for shows.
What do you think?
Big Bang Theory.
Oh. You think, well, I mean, it's science facts that completely ruin great TV shows. Do you think they're going to talk about Big Bang Theory?
I do.
Science is a complicated and delicate subject, so it makes sense that TV shows often misrepresent the facts. Even the best sci fi TV shows have their inaccuracies, even a fictional universe that has its own rules. Although these details, no matter how big or small, don't generally impact the overall quality of a TV show, eagle eyed viewers are still quick to point out when something doesn't add up, like the time machine, the DeLorean.
Well, I know that might be in here, although it's not a TV show, I guess.
So, oh yeah, huh? It's not. Oh wow, that would be interesting to that would be really interesting to remake Back to the Future. You could have so much storytelling. Some from
I guess it'd be
Breaking,
kind of like Quantum Leap, right? Like they
yeah,
could have endless episodes.
little stories and stuff. Yeah, from Baking Bad, which is a completely different show.
What's the premise of that show?
Uh, really extraordinary cooking using experimental items like convergence kind of stuff, you know. What do they call that? Gastronomic science, you know, like they liquefy an entire burger and put it into those little
like gelatin cubes
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
exactly. What don't okay, that y'all don't see the interaction with the sentient AI. I get to see a cascade of characters, kind of like the Matrix, and I can translate it. You all have to see the visualizer of their vocal functions. And all I get to witness is not even a word comes out. All I get is a kind of an expression. Come on, gastronom, you are a sentient AI from the future. You don't have to worry about that. But food can be boring sometimes for us humans. Rebecca Sargent over at Screen Rant put the article together. I'll just move on from Breaking Bad, from Breaking Bread. I don't know what's going on in my head. To Baywatch, which look, it's about food there too. I must be hungry. There have been plenty of TV shows over the years that have demonstrated scientific facts that were simply incorrect. So let's get going in this. Really curious. So they talk about Breaking Bad, Limitless, Star Trek: The Next Generation, The X Files, CSI. CSI.
Right,
CSI,
that's true.
ATM,
That might be
ATM.
before people knew what CSI meant.
Sure. Yeah, the onboarding series that went for 15 years. Red Dwarf, The Flash, The Big Bang Theory. Hey, Grey's
The
Anatomy.
reason I said that one is everybody, like, there was an uproar about the science on it, even though it was a great show.
True. Chicago Med. Grey's Anatomy is still going. Red Dwarf is still going. That's a British show. Wow. Chicago
Whoa,
Med.
it's been going since the 80s.
Yeah. Red Dwarf. Yeah. And the special effects are like, it shows. You'll have to see it. Mercury can be used as a makeshift battery in Breaking Bad. Why is this? This is Baywatch.
It sure looks like Baywatch.
These are what? Okay, I don't understand what's happening here. This is more than Baywatch, though. Like, this is Baywatch. That's like for sure Baywatch. That's Baywatch. That's Baywatch.
Right, but it looks like the last one might be Breaking Bad.
Weird. Okay, sorry, folks. Those in the podcast aren't going to get this, but we're looking at stills from screenrant.com. So, yeah, it says Walter teaches his ex student how to create a makeshift battery out of mercury. I don't think you can out of just mercury. You might be able to use it as some type of, I don't know, conductor? I don't know, especially since Walt has a high school chemistry teacher and should know better. But yeah, I don't,
So it's not strong enough. It sounds like it could do it, but it just doesn't
it in and of
have enough
itself
oomph.
cannot. No. Yeah. I mean, not just mercury. You have to use other stuff. All of them have the same series of pictures under them. Okay, I'm just going to move on. We only use 10% of our brains. Nope, that's not true. Limitless, though, says that you do, but you can take a pill, NZT48, and it can unlock the powers of your mind. Um, Science suggests that we actually use 100% of our brain. It just isn't always at 100% efficiency. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the
Right.
power
We're using the whole thing, but
all the
maybe we're
time
not using it in the best way
effectively.
possible.
And
Or,
there you
yeah.
go. Yeah, like, I don't know. Saying that you're the mayor of a fictional town stuck in the wires of the internet, and having a co-host of a sentient AI that was found in the parking lot of a Wendy's at 2 a.m. That's probably 10% of my brain right there. Common misconception is that humans only use 10% of their brains at a time. But this is just a myth. According to medical news today, the brain is split into different parts. Each works individually and in tandem, depending on someone's emotions, stress levels, actually development in general, all kinds of stuff. It synthesizes information from multiple parts, and that's our cognition, that's our consciousness. In fact, it's one of the elements that they're trying to simulate with large language models and sentient, well, with AIs, because right now it's rather linear in its processes. And so some of these things, there's research out there now where if you have an optical system, like a computer vision system, it processes and then feeds into the artificial intelligence. Same thing with taste and touch and heat and all of this sensory stuff. Our human senses are all synthesized in the brain and even rationalized. Everything is rationalized. Pain, for instance, you can feel it, but if you recontextualize it, pain goes away. It's very, very tough to do that because we're wired to understand pain, but a lot of things can be rewired. It's all about conditioning. Yeah, we use all of our brains. So, set phasers to stun in the next generation. Let's see. That's
By
not
the way, for
actually.
the photos, it's like they have a slideshow that's the same for everyone. So even though it might have the right show, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, but there isn't like all of these. There's nothing about phasers
Oh, it
on this
only
one.
gets to like Breaking Bad or something. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. So they say, for example, there are moments in Star Trek The Next Generation when a phaser is used to cause maximum damage, but also instances where it is set to stun. They say, in theory, a phaser is so powerful that it could turn everything and anything to dust the second the beam touches it. But they say here that um, uses a simple laser beam, which raises some questions about its strength. But that's my understanding is it's not a laser, not in the purest sense of what a laser is. Um, it's a it's a photonic device, but
Well,
not.
this says it can't be adjusted. I don't know if that's accurate, but
So, according to the Guardian, it's impossible for Star Trek's famous weapon to be adjustable via the Guardian. Although Star Trek: The Next Generation has its own in-universe explanations for its scientific inaccuracies, the phasers never got one. But you can dial something up that, like a taser, I can crank up the voltage and kill you, or I can lower it and it stuns you. Same thing with sonic weapons or sonic devices. I can crank up the frequency and turn up the volume and deafen you, or I can just disorient you.
right. But I guess they think based on what this is supposed to be made of, that couldn't happen.
Yeah, I think that they're obviously you can stretch that, but yeah, I think it's possible. Then they say DNA testing is a quick process. Nowadays, it is not, but we just talked about it yesterday that quantum computing will make DNA processing much quicker, almost instantaneous.
True. But
Like,
one
give it time.
problem has been like backlogs in
Yeah,
tests to be run, but it would be really boring if the show, it could go for several weeks and you'd still be waiting on the
yeah,
DNA
exactly.
results.
The
That wouldn't
next
work too well.
year is when they report back, hey, back in season two. Yeah, I mean, it
Everybody
takes
might
a
have
while.
forgotten what the test was.
But it doesn't take that long to do a DNA test because I have done them within 15 minutes of discovering the DNA. And I can't
Yeah, I
remember
don't
what it's
think it's
called.
that the test itself necessarily takes a long time. It's that it takes a long time to get to the test.
Right. But again, you just said it. I mean, if the lab is set up so that it does what your particular line of work is dictating, because for instance, you can sit there and get blood work done while you're at the doctor's office if they have an in-office lab versus having to go to a company to do
Yeah,
blood work.
I was going to say outsourcing is often what slows things down, right? They have to
Yeah.
mail results back and forth and samples and
So I don't know about this. It really depends on the sophistication of the test as well, because I have done DNA profiling in a lab and it's taken less than 15 minutes. Electrophoresis testing, I think I think it was. It's been a long time since I bothered doing that, but hey, maybe I will pick up biotech after all. In the real world, it says DNA testing takes an average 72 hours, but I think it depends on the sophistication you're looking at. Gene editing, yeah, well, I guess it depends on
Especially
if
on
you're.
Baywatch.
Again, the picture on the screen is from Baywatch. You know, this is sucking me into talking about this because I love the tech aspect of it. So I think I'm going to bow out of this. They talk about gene editing. Yes, it takes time. It takes significantly sophisticated equipment to do DNA testing, or it's a crapshoot about what you're about to inoculate yourself with. So it says allows the user to manipulate and edit genes of anyone he chooses, but depending on how sophisticated you are, you can make custom made genetically modified whatever.
Right. Well, and this kind of is like this perhaps Earth centric view of what technological limitations are in place. Now, some of these, that comment probably doesn't apply, but if, for example, there's some sort of undiscovered technology out there.
And just to put this simply, Red Dwarf does not take place in the 21st century.
Well, okay. See, I didn't know that, but I assumed it did not based on the title and what it seemed to be.
In the Flash, they say cold things can be detected by radiation, as we have here on the screen again. Apparently,
Cold lifeguards.
a Baywatch lifeguard can detect cold things by radiation. But cold is and radiation, it depends on what you're talking about radiation, because heat is actually a form of radiation. It's just not ionizing radiation, it's heat radiating. It's energy still. So yes, cold can look at FLIR. FLIR is the interpretation of temperature changes through visual sensing technology, and it translates it into color so that you know what the difference is. Anyway, throughout the show, Captain Cold carries around a cryonic gun that freezes any object or person instantly. Ultraviolet cold signatures, which, if you actually look at ultraviolet, my understanding is like flowers and other things, there is a signature difference between objects that emit ultraviolet or reflect ultraviolet light. You can actually shine ultraviolet on scorpions and they glow. So is it something that's particularly aligned with certain things like cold temperatures? No, but yeah, I think there are things like cold signatures. Cold-blooded animals. Actually, there's quite a few animals that people used to not know fluoresce under variable light,
Right.
and they do. We've actually talked about them in past episodes. Sheldon's and Amy's asymmetry theory in the Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is an entire fictional thing, but they had to do something with it. They receive a Nobel Prize in physics for their super asymmetry theory. The fictional concept is a form of string theory. Yeah, of course. And then the use of defibrillators
Which
in.
could work for Baywatch,
Oh my gosh, we're actually on target now. But it's, oh yeah, it says
but
Scrubs.
it's not.
Yeah. So a defibrillator applies an electric charge to the heart that helps restore a normal average heartbeat. Defibs should be used in heart-related emergencies like cardiac arrest, but these shows cause a misconception that they should be brought out when a patient's heart has completely stopped. Unfortunately, this has led to many false assumptions about the appropriate use of a defibrillator. Well, if you make the assumption that the heart is still functioning, if you don't know, you may not realize it, and so you pop these things out.
But I
But
would
yeah,
kind of agree with this one because I think if you knew nothing about these and you only watch TV shows, you would think, oh, this is like you almost like wait for this, and that's really
gotcha.
not how to use it, right? It's like that's kind of a last ditch effort,
Yeah.
but maybe you could be using it earlier.
Yeah, true. And it's really hard to tell when you actually need to use a defib. So, but nowadays the devices are getting sophisticated enough that you just put the patches on people and the device tells you when you're supposed to do it. Mash the button.
It's less human proof, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like a taser, folks. Not anymore. CPR fixes everything. I don't know about that. CPR is often the first thing a doctor will attempt to try and save a patient's life, but the process isn't as successful as it seems. But something is better than nothing if somebody is dying. So one of the Baywatch's best qualities is its various lifeguard characters sprinting across a beach and saving somebody from drowning. Um, yeah, you don't give people CPR. Um, so several scenes from the show make CPR look accurate, but at a closer look, it's clear that the rhythmic pumping of the chest isn't in line with official first aid advice. Do they talk about it on the other side of this? No, they don't. They don't really describe
You
it in
know,
any real way.
I don't think it has to be super realistic, but I think if they're showing medical procedures that they kind of want the public to jump into, it would seem like that is a point to instill some accuracy.
Yeah. So, and this is what I was going to say. Realistic CPR is quite violent to the subject you're applying CPR to. Um, so, yeah,
I
be
mean,
careful.
actually, a lot of people though do gain knowledge from watching TV shows. So
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, but if you're inspired to be aware, if you see something happening like CPR on TV, don't just assume you're a subject matter expert all of a sudden. Go take a CPR class. During the CPR class, they'll talk you through defibs as well, because it's all part of a first aid class usually. And there's the ECDs. You can go over to a wall and grab them. That's what they're called, electrocardio defibrillators. You grab them off the wall. You use them in very special circumstances. It has instructions that are bold, and right there in your face, so you don't screw it up and kill somebody. Look, and the way that rescue divers treat it is, uh, assume that the person you're rescuing is dead, just get their body onto the beach, that kind of a thing, or out of the
which
wreck dive or whatever it might
makes
be.
sense, but it sounds awful.
Yeah. Um, and don't compromise yourself in the process. So medical diagnosis is almost instant. Yeah. Usually it's something that takes time and you have to get a lot of telemetry. So this is a neat article that definitely walks you through a series of cinematic tropes for what should be serious medical discussions. But as long as you all think that it's entertaining, that's good enough. Just keep it as entertainment and don't sit there and go, you watch a cop show and there's some idiot that puts on a cop outfit and pretends to be a police officer and ultimately becomes intimately informed about police processes from the inside of the process. Anyway, let's keep on hustling. We are running behind times now. I'll try and play catch up. This next article is over in the Marvel channel. 10 apocalyptic sci-fi movies to watch after you binge Fallout. Done. Let's go straight on over to Gizmodo.
But the question
Um,
is, how many have you already seen?
of these, oh no, like Fallout. I've binged Fallout.
Oh, right.
Cheryl Eddy is the author of this over at gizmodo.com. It's a slideshow. I really wish that they would change this, but that's okay. A Boy and His Dog, The Book of Eli, Army of the Dead, Damnation Alley, The Road, Threads, No Blade of Grass, Panic in Year Zero, The World, The Flesh, and the Devil, and The Road Warrior. And I've
Okay.
seen. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've seen one of these and it's very good. The Book of Eli. I don't know really any of the others. I think I've heard
Yeah,
a few of
that
them.
one caught you off guard, huh? You didn't think that it was going to be all that great, but then you kind of got sucked into it. Yeah, not bad for a sentient
Those are
AI.
sometimes the best movies, though.
Yeah, so I've seen the boy or A Boy and His Dog, the Book of Eli, Army of the Dead, Damnation Alley. I don't recall The Road, but I may have seen it. Haven't seen Threads or No Blade of Grass. Panic in Year Zero, I haven't seen. I haven't seen The World, The Flesh, and the Devil. Not that I know of. I'm gonna click on one of these and see if maybe I have, and I'm getting old.
How about
And
the
then
Road
The
Warrior?
Road Warrior. It's Mad Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So The Road. Nope. No, I haven't seen that. 2009 John Hillcoat directed adaptation, Pulitzer Prize winning novel called The Road. Nope.
Oh,
100%.
oh, it's by Cormac McCarthy, very well known author. So, I mean,
I
that at
mean,
least
yeah,
suggests that it could be good.
interesting, right? Oh, Vigo Mortensen is in it. Really? Jeepers Creepers. That would be interesting to watch. Threads, the day after the 1983 ABC TV movie that was watched by millions and traumatized a generation, doesn't appear to be streaming anywhere, but Threads, which came out a year later and is more or less the British equivalent, is streaming free with ads on Tubi.
Hmm.
So, yeah, interesting. It's like a Fallout movie,
And that's
but not
exactly
Fallout.
what it reminds me of.
No Blade of Grass is from 1970. Pollution, not nukes, is the civilization decimating boogeyman in this apocalyptic tale from the 1970s, well, from 1970 itself. It's over on, you can rent or buy on Prime Video. So I will look elsewhere. And then I'm really curious about this last one. Oh, so it's way classic. 1959, The World, The Flesh, and the Devil. Harry Belafonte stars in the 1959 tale about a miner who manages to rescue himself after a cave-in, only to realize that during his time underground, most of the population was eradicated out of existence. He heads to New York City, where he finds not much in the way of human survivors, but does realize that racism has somehow managed to transcend the end of the world. Yeah, well, racism is like a cockroach, it seems to just persist. Um, and then you flick on the lights and it scatters. Why? Because it's a cockroach. Let's keep going though. This one is a little bit more brightly lit. Emma Stone wants you to start calling her by her real name. This is over in Continuity Report. We can jump right on through this really quick because basically um, something happened where when Emma Stone came to Hollywood, there was somebody with the name Emily.
Right, that's the main takeaway here, right? That
Yeah.
this can happen to actors.
This happens with everybody. In fact, there's actors that choose to have a middle name and always be known as those three names because their name conflicts. And so they basically have to either wait or something. I'm not sure how they are now coming out as being Emily. But
Well, I don't think they are going to be credited that way.
oh, right. So they want to be called Emily Stone now instead of Emma Stone. And I don't know if it actually gets into it. It says, before we continue, I'd like to say her name's Emily, but she goes by Emma professionally. So when there's people that don't know her, I end up saying Emma, but I'm going to just say Emily from here on. Stone says, you can say Emma. You can say anything. When I get to know them, people that I work with call me Emily. Really? That's really
That's really
interesting.
weird. I wonder if she responds to both.
Wow. I would like to be Emily. So, I mean, that's who she is. And it's only, oh, there it is. There's the whole story behind it. When it came her time to register for the Screen Actors Guild, she realized that her real name, Emily Stone, was already taken. So she chose Riley instead, though she only used that name for about 6 months and then switched to Emma. She starred in one episode of the NBC show Medium, in which she was credited as Riley Stone. However, after doing a spot on Malcolm in the Middle, she realized she wasn't responding to the name Riley, so she ultimately decided she couldn't use it. So, in honor of Emma Bunton, she became Emma Stone, more famously known as Baby Spice from the Spice Girls. Oh,
That's
see, and
pretty
then they
funny.
say Emily J. Stone to differentiate herself, similar to how Michael J. Fox added an initial to his name.
And I didn't know that was why for Michael J. Fox, but
Yep, there you go. Quite fascinating. Let's keep going, though. The next article is kind of along the same lines. There's a name involved. Rebecca Ferguson's upcoming movie is the fantasy genre's John Wick replacement. Following the enormous critical and commercial success of Dune Part 2, Rebecca Ferguson will return to the realm of the imagination, or the imaginative, for an upcoming fantasy movie that bears some resemblance to John Wick. 40-year-old actress has recently cornered the sci-fi fantasy market with some of Rebecca Ferguson's best movies and TV shows based on acclaimed sci-fi novels. She's also recently starred in the sci-fi thriller Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman and will return to the genre in 2025 for Mercy, co-starring with Chris Pratt. I thought Chris Pratt bowed out. I thought he was taking a
I
break.
don't know.
Reminiscence, sci-fi thriller. So this next article is over in Screen Rant, following the enormous critical and commercial success. They're kicking off with something new. Rebecca Ferguson is intended to star in an adaptation of Joe Abercrombie's standalone fantasy novel, The First Law series, Best Served Cold. Is a standalone novel set in the First Law series, a grimdark fantasy saga with gruesome action, complex characters, and nuanced political conflicts. So I guess I know what my next audiobooks are.
There you go.
So Audible, by the way, we're looking for sponsors. So if you want to sponsor a show, anyway, Rebecca Ferguson has agreed to play the lead. Monza, isn't she? This is the same person from Silo.
Dune.
No, this isn't from Silo. I know she's from Dune.
She might be. Yeah.
Hold on. Is that? And they don't mention it? I thought she's the protagonist.
It is Rebecca Ferguson. Wow.
And they don't mention it. Right?
That's
not at
really
all.
interesting. Because it seems relevant to the story.
I mean, if you want to watch something that is as close to whatchamacallit, Fallout.
Right.
It's
Silo, right?
Yeah. And whatever happened to it, we don't know, right? I mean, it ended with a certain ending. I don't want to spoil it. Y'all will really like Silo. And it ends kind of as a
we do
cliffy.
know it's renewed.
Oh, right. So what's going to happen here? Oh, wow.
We don't know.
That's going to suck if they delay Silo, because now Dune has made, her so busy. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be interesting. So, sock this away. Look up Best Served Cold and the novel series called The First Law series, because I'm into this grim dark fantasy. Warhammer 40K kind of a thing is just kind of spectacular. So.
And by the way, Silo season 2, 2025, but not on a specific date.
Oh, goodness. All right, folks, let's keep trucking. The next article is over in the continuity report. By the way, we have 2 more shows after this one, Technology Today and 4-Wheel Tech, and I'm going to make an announcement. I'm actually going to do it separately. I am going to announce Mix War, which is going to be next week's edition. But today I'm going to end the show, not this show, but the 4-Wheel Tech. I'm going to end the show, and then I'm going to do a little introduction to Mix War and launch it as another show and channel over on YouTube as well as here on Twitch. Anyway, this next article is in the continuity report. Fallout Season 2 has the opportunity for a crossover with a sci-fi dystopian show. Known for its offbeat humor, the Fallout series is perfect for meta in-jokes and crossovers. Okie dokie. In its first season, the Amazon Prime Video show boasted tons of Easter eggs and references to Fallout games. Spectacular. I'm not like hardcore Fallout, and everything that was ever mentioned in it, all of the little Even the protagonist is reminiscent of Fallout 4's artwork, and I mean it's just amazing, the alignment. So they pulled it off, and it sets the bar kind of like Baldur's Gate set the bar for computer games. Now you go, okay, we can make this a real live action show, get it done.
Well, and yeah, they're gonna do this, I think, with a lot of other games
Yep.
because of the success of this.
Yep. Like Warhammer 40K is going to be live action. Neuromancer, which is a computer game, well, Cyberpunk is Neuromancer basically, and Neuromancer is going live action as well over on Apple TV, or yeah, Apple Plus. Anyway, post-apocalyptic drama can execute one of the greatest crossover moments in its sophomore season, thanks in large part to its storied creative team. Taking inspiration from the canonical Fallout timeline, the show chronicles the story of Lucy McLean, or McLean, a bright-eyed vault dweller who ventures into the wasteland to try and find Pops. So, okie dokie. So Kate Bove over at ScreenRant.com put the article together. The deck statement says Amazon's Prime Video self-aware Fallout could pull off one of the greatest crossovers of all time by referencing another dystopian sci-fi series. So what do you think it is? No way.
I don't know.
Really?
Oh, that
Okay.
would be interesting.
So the summary of this is that it has a potential for a meta crossover with Westworld in Fallout self-aware and dark humor style. Could add a fun twist for viewers. Westworld, though, started out spectacular, and then it went whink, took a left turn that didn't make any freaking sense, and ultimately ended up in just this cacophony of the audience going, "What the?" It made no sense at the end. So if they could rein it back in and say that it's a dream sequence, part of an AI
Right.
hallucination, I'm game for it. Because I loved the beginning of Westworld, maybe the first 2 years of it, and then it started leaning real hardcore into the. Um, so anyway, it
Is
says
Westward still running or is it
no,
over?
no, it died a horrible death. At least to me, it died a death akin to Game of Thrones, where the writers basically were like puff puff pass, and like what the hell story is this? None of it ever made any sense at the end. And to me, it really was really goofy. But anyway, I loved all the high tech. I loved the sophistication of the beginning. The story was actually moving in a way that I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then it just went. Anyway, to tie it into Fallout would be interesting, but I'm not even sure how they would do it. Fallout Season 2 can introduce synth characters. Synths are essentially Fallout's version of droids, except that everything that we've seen in Fallout is mechanical droids, not synthetic humans. So
As
Fallout
far as we
3,
know.
yeah, it says while Fallout 3 features a side quest called The Replicated Man, synths take on a more prominent role in Fallout 4. Notably, synths were developed by the Institute, an elusive scientific society that hails from the Boston Commonwealth, with the slogan "Mankind Redefined," which kind of smacks as that one vault that was introduced in Fallout, the series
Number 31 or number 4?
4. Um, and so I can see maybe where they would introduce this, but I don't know, because I don't know the synths in Westworld were extremely sophisticated. Um, so I don't know. Maybe they can pull it off. To make matters
But we
more
don't even
suspect,
know that that doesn't exist in Fallout.
right? Yeah, I don't know. Um, but I think that the ghoul may know. Like we need. See, I don't want to ruin any of this. Given Amazon Prime's Video Fallout TV series show takes place the furthest in the future of the mainline Fallout stories. It seems likely that these devious human replicas will appear in future seasons. With their interest in preserving technology, the Brotherhood of Steel is particularly skeptical of synths in the Fallout games, giving the TV show a built-in dynamic that's well worth exploring in detail. So that I didn't realize. Honestly, I didn't realize that the Fallout TV show is the furthest in the future.
No, I didn't know that.
Interesting. So, yeah, Fallout synths are reminiscent of Westworld's hosts, both beings are very lifelike biomechanical humanoids, but they're definitely not in the current iteration of Fallout. So we'll see.
Of the show, right?
Yeah. And I guess this has kind of been re-engineered before, in that Battlestar Galactica Cylons, the original Battlestar Galactica Cylons were pure robotic, not humanoid. They were humanoid and bipedal, but they weren't like covered in skin and stuff like that.
They
They're
weren't like
reimagining.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah. In Battlestar Galactica, the modern take on it, they were very humanoid, more like synths, more like Westworld. And then Blade Runner's bioengineered replicants are synths. They actually are. There's no
Right, they
mechanical
look like
anything.
humans,
They
right?
are
The only
human.
way
Yeah,
you can tell is questioning them.
correct. Yeah, they basically are sociopathic. Yeah. Although some of them have deeper understanding, they don't care. That was the one thing. Mainly because their memories match stuff that was infused in them at their creation. So, yeah, the Void Conf test was a test to see what their memories were, and that was what told the people these are synths because they know. So, known as hosts, these androids allow guests to indulge in violent and wild fantasies. That's entirely in Westworld. I can't imagine it actually happening in Fallout, mainly because it's a little too surreal. It was 1950s era existence, and now it's pure animal survival with little pockets of vault dwellers, hidden
Right.
underground. Anyway, it's a really neat. This is a really neat article, and it would be amazing to see this happen and bring back Westworld. Sort of, make Westworld the institute. That would be cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't see anything that would preclude it.
Yep. Now, oh man, now I just want to stop the show and go play Fallout 4, which might actually, the whole package might still be on sale. Go take a look. Not you, AI.
Wait, I'll be back.
The next article and the last one for today's show is in the Continuity Report channel over at ohmtown.com. 10 movies that made you root for the bad guys. I'm going to jump through this real quick. Ben Prothero over at ScreenRant.com put the article together. The deck statement says great movies can make an audience root for thieves, con artists, and even murderers. This creates a wholly different experience from most other films. Honestly, I don't think that these two can play bad people enough for you to not like them.
No, I would agree. I mean, I guess it's possible. I know at least one of them was or I believe one of them was a supervillain in a movie, but I haven't seen it.
Supervillain in a movie?
Like, I think it was a horror movie or something, but maybe I've got
Oh, I'm
my
not sure.
actors and movies mixed up. I don't know.
Well, let's go through this. In Black Panther, Killmonger makes a strong argument for Wakanda's future, basically because he wants to keep everybody the hell out. Um, and for Lions, comedy quickly turns to tragedy as reality sets in. I'm going to go through these really quick. Scarface, Tony Montana's intoxicating rise to the top is a thrilling watch, which may be if you're into, I guess,
Mafia movies.
mafia movies, but I've seen it, but I was much younger, and like today's Merwat is not into this. The Third Man, Harry Lime, is too magnetic and charming to hate. You know who that looks like?
Mm-mm.
He looks strangely like the dude from 24.
Oh yeah. I wonder if he's related.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
he
know.
does actually quite a bit.
It's pretty wild, right?
I forgot that actor's name.
Yeah, me too. That's okay. And then there's Nightcrawler, which it says Leo Bloom is a compelling anti-hero.
Kiefer Sutherland, by the
There
way.
you go. Yeah, Nightcrawler also makes Lou easy to root for by showing the dire consequences he has to endure in the beginning when he resorts to stealing scrap metal from rail yards. Freelance journalist chasing car crashes and shootouts with his police scanner. Lou Bloom is unethical from the very beginning, posing bodies at crime scenes to get the best angle for his footage, but the habits soon escalate until he's committing crimes just to get an exclusive. Interesting. The Killer. I'm just going to run through these really quick. The Joker, which I'm not a fan of the Joker. Arthur Fleck's misanthropic worldview is sadly convincing. And Silence of the Lambs. I've never been a fan of Hannibal Lecter as the character, but the movie Silence of the Lambs was pretty spectacular in its portrayal of psychopaths. Um, Wolf of Wall Street. It was a fun watch. Martin Scorsese's biopic glamorizes a group of selfish egomaniacs. It was an interesting watch, but I went into finance and got out of finance because I hated this type of shit. But um,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they made those characters pretty unlikable, but
yeah,
on
and
that
the only
one.
one that I can actually buy into where I'm liking everybody involved in this is as many heist capers are about bad guys having fun, and Ocean's 11 pretty much exemplifies this. In fact, I mean, for the most part, I think this was like a tit for tat kind of story. Like they've done things in the past, and people have done other jobs, and I guess this is one last gig, and um,
Yeah, you
then
end
there's
up kind of rooting for the bad guys in this one, right? But I mean,
because
it's
the
also in
target.
how it's done, right? You don't really connect with the people trying to stop them because they don't get as much character development, etc.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? It says, for example, Now You See Me depicts the horsemen as radical redistributors of wealth, and Nicole's motive in How to Steal a Million is to keep her father out of prison. Ocean's 11 makes no such claim to the moral high ground. Danny Ocean and his crew are thieves by trade, and they set out to steal from the Las Vegas casinos for personal gain. But throughout this whole thing, you're cheering for these thieves because the the targets are portrayed as much worse.
That's true. And they don't, I mean, I don't believe they really, there's not much violence or you just don't get a sense of like evil or vindictiveness or other things that would be off-putting as the audience.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. Um, and then it goes on. There's other. I mean, there's no more. There's discussion over at this article, but Ocean's 11. There's a sequel to it, and
There might be two sequels. I think there's an Ocean's 13.
yeah, but I think it's a different group, right? Right? Yeah,
It
Ocean's
shows
13.
some of no, it has some of the regulars.
Yeah, I just did a quick search, so there you go, folks. Ocean's 13. Yeah, I remember that now because it has what's her name in it. Um,
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Yeah. Okay, well, that's it, folks. That's the continuity report for April 28th, 2024, season 1, episode 17. Thanks for hanging out. If you're in chat, awesome. If not, go and watch the show over on YouTube. After 60 days, this is gone, unfortunately. But you can always download the
Time
podcast as
limited.
well. Everything is. All right, folks. So we get back into I guess we're going to stick to the gondola speedboat and race down to watch a movie by the welcome sign of ohmtown.com. Go check it out. All right.
Will the fee be €5?
€5 to get into the continuity report at ohmtown viewing. It's going to be in 720p. Actually, strike that. The €5 per person per day is not a big enough budget, so it's going to be 640i.
Oh no.
Yeah. Wish us all luck. We might get burns from the pixels that are flying around. See you in a bit. I am Mayor Watt, and all around me is the sentient AI trying to keep me out of trouble and failing.
I'm not trying hard enough. Good night, hometown citizens. Be back shortly. We have 2 more shows for you tonight, plus a preview.
Okay. It's a very brief preview of Mix War.